My child, I have been trying to get your attention for a while now. Not in the loud way, not through the dramatic interruption or the unmistakable sign that forces itself into awareness, regardless of what else is happening. I have been trying to reach you in the way I most often speak, which is quietly, underneath the noise, in the spaces between the demands, in the brief and fleeting moments when the volume of everything else reduces just enough for something softer to become perceptible. I have been speaking. The speaking has not stopped. What has reduced is the interior quiet in which my voice can be clearly heard, and I want to address that directly in this message, because what I have to tell you is not something I can communicate above the noise. It is something I need to communicate into the quiet. And so the first word of this message is the most important one. Come away. Come away from the noise, not permanently. Not in the dramatic withdrawal of the person who is abandoning the world and its legitimate demands and its genuine relationships. Come away for a season of genuinely quiet interior, for the specific and deliberate provision of the stillness that is not currently available in the life that is organized around continuous input and continuous demand and continuous forward motion. Come away from the specific forms of noise that are filling the interior space in which my voice most naturally operates. Come away from the constant scrolling that keeps the attention moving so quickly from one thing to the next that nothing has time to actually land, including me. Come away from the continuous entertainment that fills the available quiet before it can become the specific quality of interior that I need in order to reach you with what I am trying to say. Come away from the chronic busyness that makes the interior feel perpetually occupied and the schedule feel perpetually full, the busyness that has a quality of virtue to it because it looks like productivity, but that is functioning in part as protection against the specific kind of meeting with me that the quiet makes possible. Come away. I want to tell you why the coming away matters so urgently right now. Not because my love for you is conditional on your making the interior quiet enough to receive it. My love is not conditional. Not because my presence in your life is absent when the interior is noisy. My presence is not absent, but because what I have to say to you in this season is specific and personal and aimed at the exact place in your interior that the noise has been covering, and what I am saying cannot reach that place through the noise. Not because I am incapable of speaking above the noise, because what I am saying requires a quality of interior receptivity that the noise is specifically preventing, requires the kind of attentiveness that is only available in the quiet, requires the person to be genuinely still enough to receive what is genuinely quiet. What I have to tell you is not generic. I want to be specific about that, because the invitation to the quiet can be heard as the general spiritual instruction to spend more time in silence and prayer, the kind of instruction that is acknowledged and then set aside because it does not feel sufficiently urgent. What I am telling you is that I have something specific for you, something that I have been trying to reach you with in the gaps between the demands and the spaces in the scrolling, and the brief moments of the quiet that the noise keeps closing. Something that is specifically and personally for you in the specific place where you are right now in your specific life. It is not a general spiritual principle that you can receive through the reading of a book about silence. It is the specific word that I have for you in this specific season, and it is waiting in the quiet for you to create the interior space in which it can finally be fully received. The world you are living in is the loudest environment in the history of human existence. That is not an exaggeration. No previous generation has had access to the specific volume and the specific constancy of the noise that is available to you through the devices that are within reach in almost every waking moment. The news and the social media and the streaming content and the notifications and the messages and the podcasts and the music and the endless availability of something to look at and something to listen to and something to engage with. This specific form and this specific quantity of continuous input is genuinely unprecedented, and what it is doing to the interior's capacity to receive the quiet is also genuinely unprecedented. It is not that people in previous generations or more spiritually disciplined than you. It is that the specific form of the noise that is available to your generation is a genuinely new challenge to the specific quality of interior that the receiving of what I am saying requires. And I want to say something about the way this noise affects the relationship between you and me, because the effect is real and it deserves to be named rather than left as a vague sense that something important is being missed. The noise does not eliminate my presence. It creates interference between my presence and your perception of it. The frequency on which I most consistently speak is quiet, and the constant noise is filling that frequency with something else, and what gets lost in the interference is not my speaking, but your receiving of it. I am still speaking. You are not fully hearing. And the coming away that I am inviting you into is the specific and deliberate choosing to reduce the interference long enough for the receiving to become possible. Come away. I have something quiet to tell you, and it is worth hearing. Type, I come away with you, Lord, in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the choosing, the specific and deliberate turning away from the noise and toward the quiet in which I am speaking, the accepting of the invitation to the specific and personal encounter that the quiet makes possible. And if this message has guided you, strengthened you, and helped you see your path clearly, then like, subscribe, and share this message, and support this ministry through the link given below so others can receive this message at the right time. I want to name the noise more specifically, because the invitation to come away from it is most useful when the specific forms of it that are filling the interior are clearly identified. The noise is not only one thing. It is not only the external volume of the world around you. It is also the internal volume of the interior that has been shaped by the external noise into its own form of constant activity. And both the external and the internal noise deserve to be named honestly, so that the coming away can be specific rather than vague, aimed at the actual things that are filling the space in which my voice most needs to operate. The first form of noise is the noise of the screen, the specific and pervasive noise of the phone and the tablet and the computer and the television that is available in almost every waking moment and that is increasingly present even in the moments that previous generations experienced as naturally quiet. The morning that begins with the immediate checking of the phone before the eyes have fully adjusted to the light. The meal that is accompanied by the screen rather than by the specific quality of the unhurried and unmediated present moment. The waiting moment in the car or the line or the quiet room that is immediately filled with the scrolling rather than allowed to remain as the waiting moment it is. A moment of genuine quiet in which something could be received that the scrolling will prevent from arriving. The screen noise is perhaps the most pervasive and the most normalized of all the forms of noise, because it is so consistently available and so thoroughly woven into the texture of the daily life that its presence has become invisible. The second form of noise is the noise of the opinion, the continuous stream of what other people think and feel and believe about every conceivable subject that the social media and the news and the podcasts and the conversations provide in a volume that no previous generation has had to navigate. The opinion that arrives in the notification before the morning orientation to me. The political commentary that keeps the interior agitated in specific ways. The comparison that arrives through the curated presentations of other people's lives on the platforms that are designed to produce the specific emotional responses that keep the engagement high. All of this opinion noise is filling the space in which my opinion, my word about your specific situation and your specific worth and your specific direction and your specific calling could be received. The third form of noise is the noise of the pace. The specific noise of a life that moves too fast to allow the processing and the integration and the quiet reflection that the genuine interior life requires. The pace that keeps the next thing always immediately present, always pressing, always available to fill the space that might otherwise have been a moment of genuine stillness. The pace noise is internal as much as external. The interior that has learned to move at the speed of the demands, rather than at the speed of the genuine human being who is designed for a rhythm that includes the stopping. The fourth form of noise is the noise of the worry. The internal voice that is doing its own form of constant generating, producing the anxious content and the rehearsal of the feared scenarios and the reviewing of the unresolved situations that keeps the interior occupied even in the moments when the external input has been reduced. The worry noise is the most interior of all the forms of noise and the most difficult to come away from through the simple reduction of the external input. The fifth form of noise is the noise of the obligation. The continuous background awareness of what needs to be done, the list that runs in the interior even during the supposed rest moments, the sense of the undone that colors every available quiet with the quality of something that should be given to a task rather than to the stillness that the coming away requires. Type "I choose silence" to hear your voice in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific choosing, not the vague intention to be quieter someday, but the specific commitment to the coming away that this message is inviting you into. I want to speak about why the quiet is avoided, because the invitation to come away from the noise would be simple to accept if the quiet were simply pleasant and inviting, if the reducing of the noise immediately produced the sense of peaceful rest that the word quiet suggests. But for many people, the quiet is not immediately pleasant. It is uncomfortable. It produces a specific kind of interior restlessness, a reaching for the noise that has become the familiar baseline of the interior experience, a quality of something rising in the stillness that the noise was covering and that the noise was, in part, chosen to cover. The first thing that rises in the quiet is the unprocessed. The experiences and the emotions and the grief and the fear and the confusion that have accumulated without being given the specific quality of interior attention that processing requires. The busyness and the noise have been functioning partly as a way of staying ahead of what would surface if the motion stopped. I want to say something about what rises in the genuine quiet. Bring it to me. Whatever surfaces when the noise reduces, whatever the interior has been keeping below the threshold of awareness through the constant input and the constant motion, bring it. Do not be frightened by the surfacing. The surfacing is not evidence that the quiet is dangerous. It is evidence that the quiet is working, that the interior is beginning to do the processing that it has been unable to do in the noise, and that the processing is the beginning of the healing of what has been waiting. The second thing that rises in the quiet is the honest interior, the version of you that exists when the performing is not required, when the presenting of the managed and acceptable version of the self to the world has been temporarily suspended. For some people, this honest interior is more frightening than the performing version, because the honest interior contains things that the performance was protecting, questions that do not have ready answers, grief that the busyness was outrunning, loneliness that the social media was partially medicating. I want to say directly into that exposure, I am safe to be honest with. The honest interior that rises in the quiet is the version of you I most want to meet. Bring me the honest interior. Let the quiet produce the exposure, and let my presence in the quiet be the specific and safe context in which the exposed interior is genuinely received rather than judged. The third thing that rises in the quiet is the awareness of what is genuinely important. The noise tends to distribute the attention across a very large surface area, keeping the interior engaged with many things simultaneously in a way that prevents the specific and focused awareness of the few things that are most genuinely important. The quiet narrows the field. What genuinely matters tends to come to the surface when the noise reduces, and what genuinely matters is often different from what the noise has been making feel urgent. And the fourth thing that rises in the quiet is the awareness of my presence. This is what the quiet is ultimately for, the specific and personal and direct awareness of my presence that is available in the quiet in a way that is not fully available in the noise. I am present in the noise. My presence is not contingent on the noise being reduced, but the perception of my presence, the felt and specific and genuinely registered awareness of my being here, is most available in the quiet. Type "In the quiet I find you, Lord," in the comments. Let that be your declaration of what the quiet is actually for, not the performance of religious discipline or the achieving of a particular interior state, but the specific and personal finding of the one who has been present all along and who becomes most perceptibly present in the quiet that the noise has been preventing. I want to speak about what I say in the quiet, because the invitation to come away from the noise is most compelling when what is waiting in the quiet is genuinely known rather than only vaguely anticipated. The quiet is not empty. It is full of what I am saying, full of what I have been preparing to speak into the specific interior of the specific person who is willing to create the space in which the speaking can be received. The first thing I say in the quiet is your name, not the name that the world uses for you, not the designation that the professional context assigns, or the relational role that the family context defines. The name I have for you, the specific and personal and entirely accurate name that reflects what I know about who you actually are. When you come into the genuine quiet with me, one of the first and most significant things that happens in the interior is the experience of being specifically and personally known, of the attention of the one who knows you, completely resting on you, in a way that the noise was diffusing, but that the quiet allows to be concentrated, felt, genuinely present. The second thing I say in the quiet is the truth about your specific situation, not the generic theological truth that applies to all people in all situations. The specific and personally relevant word about what is actually happening in your specific life right now, what I see that you cannot see from your vantage point, what is genuinely present in the situation that the noise and the anxiety and the distorted perception have been preventing you from seeing clearly. The quiet is where clarity comes. The third thing I say in the quiet is the truth about your worth. The noise tends to tell you your worth in the language of comparison and performance and the evaluation of others. In the quiet, removed from the constant flow of the comparison noise, the interior becomes available to receive my word about what you are worth, which is not a relative assessment based on how you measure against others, but an absolute declaration based on what I know about you and what I paid for you and what I have always seen in you. The fourth thing I say in the quiet is the direction for the season. The Mayans, the specific word about what this particular season of your life is for, what I am building in it, what I am asking of you in it, where I am leading you through it. The noise tends to present a great many directions simultaneously, each with its own form of urgency. The quiet is where the direction becomes clear. And the fifth thing I say in the quiet is simply, I love you, not as a theological affirmation to be accepted intellectually, as the specific and felt and genuinely received reality of being loved by the one who knows everything about you and who loves you anyway. Type, I quiet my soul to hear from heaven in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific coming away that makes the receiving possible, the quieting of the interior in the direction of the specific and personal and genuinely waiting word that I have been preparing to speak into you. I want to show you what coming away looked like in the life of my son, because the invitation to come away from the noise is not a new invitation, and it is not a vague spiritual suggestion without a concrete model. It was practiced with specific intentionality by the one whose life was the most purposeful ever lived, and the way he practiced it, and the specific contexts in which he chose to come away, and what the coming away produced in him are the most powerful and most practically instructive demonstration available of what I am inviting you into. The gospel accounts describe Jesus withdrawing with a regularity and a specificity that suggests it was not occasional or incidental, but deliberate and consistent, woven into the rhythm of his engagement with the world as a non-negotiable dimension of the life he was living. He did not withdraw only when the demands were light, or when the crowds had gone home, or when the schedule permitted it. He withdrew in the middle of the demands, in the seasons of greatest need, often when the requests were most numerous and the work was most pressing. Before the choosing of the 12, the most significant relational decision of his earthly ministry, he spent the night in prayer on a mountain. Before the beginning of the public ministry, he withdrew for 40 days into the wilderness. After the feeding of the 5,000, he dismissed them and went up the mountain alone. After the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew by boat to a solitary place. The pattern is consistent. Before the significant decision, after the significant loss, in the middle of the significant ministry, the withdrawal to the quiet was the specific and intentional practice of the one who is doing the most significant work ever done. And what did he do in the withdrawing? He prayed. The specific and sustained and genuinely two-directional engagement with the Father, the coming into my presence with full attention and full receptivity, the specific communing with the source of everything that the ministry was expressing. He was receiving in the quiet what he was giving in the engagement, filling in the withdrawing what the giving was drawing down, hearing in the silence what he was speaking in the activity. And what did the coming away produce in him? Clarity. The specific and sustained clarity of the person who knows what they are doing and why, who is not responding to the most recent and the loudest, but moving in the specific direction that they are receiving in the quiet. Authority. The specific authority that comes from speaking and acting from the position of someone who is genuinely in communication with the source. Peace. The specific interior peace that is available to the person who is regularly returning to the source in the quiet. Type. His still small voice speaks, and I listen. In the comments, let that be your declaration of the specific posture that the coming away requires, the choosing of the listening over the speaking, the receiving over the generating, the stillness over the motion. And if this message has guided you, strengthened you, and helped you see your path clearly, then like, subscribe, and share this message, and support this ministry through the link given below so others can receive this message at the right time. I want to speak about what the consistent practice of coming away does to the relationship between you and me, because the coming away is not only about the specific word I have to speak in the quiet. It is about the quality of relationship that develops when the quiet is consistently provided, when the coming away becomes a regular rhythm rather than an occasional retreat. The first thing that changes in the relationship when the quiet is consistently practiced is the quality of the recognition. The person who comes into the quiet regularly begins to develop a specific ability to recognize my voice that the person who only encounters me in the noise does not have access to in the same way. This recognition is simply the natural result of familiarity, the same process through which any relationship develops the capacity to recognize the specific quality of the other's communication. The second thing that changes is the quality of the trust. The consistent coming away accumulates evidence of my trustworthiness in a way that the infrequent and crisis-driven encounter does not. Each time you come into the quiet and find me genuinely present, genuinely speaking, genuinely relevant to the specific interior you are bringing, you are adding to the experiential foundation of the trust that the relationship rests on. The third thing that changes is the quality of the discernment. The consistent quiet practitioner develops a specific and practical ability to distinguish between the many voices and the many directions and the many claims on the attention that the world and the culture and the internal confusion present, and to identify which of these are genuinely from me and which are from other sources. The fourth thing that changes is the quality of the interior in the active seasons. The person who is regularly returning to the quiet tends to bring a different interior to the noisy seasons than the person who never comes away. A specific quality of groundedness and settledness and rootedness in what is genuinely true that the noise does not produce and the quiet consistently does. And the fifth thing that changes is the quality of the love. The relationship with me that is consistently brought into the quiet develops a depth of affection and a specific quality of genuine desire for my presence that the relationship that is only maintained in the functional and crisis contexts does not develop in the same way. Type. I make room for God in the quiet places in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific and practical commitment to the consistent coming away. Not the occasional retreat when the crisis demands it, but the regular and protected and genuinely given provision of the quiet in which the relationship with me can deepen. I want to speak about how to recognize my voice in the quiet, because the coming away is most genuinely fruitful when what arrives in the quiet can be received as what it is, rather than being either dismissed as imagination or accepted uncritically without the discernment that genuine hearing requires. The first quality of my voice in the quiet is its gentleness, not the absence of directness or the avoidance of the difficult, because I speak truth, and truth is sometimes challenging, but a specific quality of gentleness, of care and respect for the person who is receiving what is being spoken, that is consistently present in my communication, and that tends to distinguish it from the harsher voices that can arise in the interior. The second quality of my voice in the quiet is its specificity. What I say tends to be specifically relevant to the specific person in the specific moment, addressing the specific situation, or the specific question, or the specific wound, with a specific wound, with a specific word that is genuinely applicable, rather than the generic principle that could apply to anyone in any situation. The third quality of my voice in the quiet is its consistency with what I have already said in the scripture and in the whole of what I have revealed about my character. I do not contradict myself. The word that comes in the quiet and that is genuinely from me will be consistent with the word that has already come in the scripture. The fourth quality of my voice in the quiet is its peaceable fruit. What I say in the quiet, when it is genuinely received and genuinely acted on, tends to produce peace in the interior rather than agitation, produces clarity rather than confusion, produces love and growth and genuine connection rather than fear or compulsion. The fifth quality of my voice in the quiet is its invitation rather than its demand. I am not a God who coerces. I am a God who invites. And the voice that arrives in the quiet with the quality of genuine invitation, of an offering extended with full respect for your freedom to receive or not receive, that quality of invitation tends to be one of the specific marks of my speaking. Type, I hunger for your word, in the silence, in the comments. In the comments, let that be your declaration of the specific appetite that the consistent coming away develops. The genuine desire for what I speak in the quiet that grows as the quiet is practiced and the recognition of my voice deepens. I want to give you something practical now, because the invitation to come away from the noise needs to be translated from the beautiful and the inspiring into the specific and the actual, into the concrete choices and the daily rhythms that create the genuine interior quiet in which what I am speaking can be received. The first practical step is the protected morning. Before the noise of the day asserts itself, before the phone is checked and the news is consumed and the messages are responded to and the demands begin their claiming of the interior attention, take a specific and protected portion of the morning for genuine quiet with me. 10 minutes of genuine quiet, of deliberately setting aside the noise and turning the interior toward me, of receiving rather than producing, of listening rather than speaking, is genuinely transformative when it is practiced consistently rather than occasionally. The second practical step is the phone boundary. A specific and enforced phone boundary. The deliberate choosing of specific times and specific contexts in which the phone is set aside, rather than available for the continuous checking and scrolling that fills every available moment of potential quiet, is one of the most significant structural changes available to the person who is genuinely wanting to create the interior conditions for hearing what I am saying. The third practical step is the nature encounter. There is something specific that the created world does to the interior that is difficult to replicate in the built environment. A specific quality of the slowing and the opening and the returning to the actual present moment that happens when the interior is genuinely present in the natural world without the mediation of the screen. The fourth practical step is the journaling, the practice of writing what arises in the quiet, of giving the interior a specific and focused outlet for what the quieting surfaces, is one of the most practically useful tools for the person who is learning to come away from the noise. The fifth practical step is the community of the quiet. Finding or creating the specific relationships with one or two people who are also committed to the coming away, who can share what they are hearing in the quiet and receive what you are hearing, who can provide the specific encouragement and the specific accountability that makes the practice more sustainable over time. Type, "I sit at your feet and receive your word" in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific posture that these practices are building, the posture of the one who has come away from the noise and who is genuinely present at the feet of the one who speaks in the quiet. I want to speak about what the quiet does for the soul, because the coming away from the noise is not only about hearing something that the noise was preventing from being heard. It is also about the specific and direct work that the genuine interior quiet does in the soul itself. The first thing the quiet does for the soul is restore what the noise has depleted. The soul is not inexhaustible. It has a specific capacity for the receiving and the giving and the engaging that is genuine but finite, and the constant noise is a constant draw on that capacity. The quiet restores the soul in the specific way that only the quiet can restore it, and the restoration is one of the most significant gifts of the consistent coming away. The second thing the quiet does for the soul is reveal what has been hidden, not always comfortably. The soul has specific regions that the noise has been keeping below the threshold of awareness, specific griefs and specific fears and specific longings that the constant stimulation has been preventing from surfacing. The surfacing is the essential beginning of the address of what was hidden, because what remains hidden in the soul cannot be genuinely healed. The third thing the quiet does for the soul is form it in the specific ways that the noise cannot form it. Character is formed in the quiet more than in the noise. The specific and deep qualities of patience and wisdom and the capacity for genuine love and the particular quality of settledness that makes a person genuinely trustworthy and genuinely present. These tend to be formed in the seasons of genuine quiet. The fourth thing the quiet does for the soul is connect it to what is genuinely real. The noise tends to produce a specific kind of unreality, a quality of being caught up in what is presented and what is constructed and what is curated and what is performed. The quiet returns the soul to what is genuine. And the fifth thing the quiet does for the soul is give it back to itself. The soul that is always in the noise tends to lose contact with its own specific and genuine self in the continuous stream of input and comparison and external orientation that the noise provides. The quiet gives the soul back to itself. Type, "I find rest for my soul in His presence" in the comments. Let that be your declaration of what the coming away is actually providing. Not only the hearing of a specific word, but the specific and deep and genuine restoration of the soul that the consistent practice of the quiet is designed to produce. I want to speak about what the quiet reveals about your calling, because purpose is one of the specific things that the noise most consistently obscures and the quiet most consistently clarifies. The calling tends to emerge in the quiet, the specific and personal sense of what the life is for and where it is going, and what I have placed in the person that is meant to find its expression in the world. That sense tends to surface and deepen and become more genuinely actionable in the interior that is consistently given the quiet in which it can be received. The reason the calling is most accessible in the quiet is connected to the nature of calling itself. The calling I have placed in you is something I placed in you when I made you, something that is part of the specific design of the specific person I created, something that is most accessible in the interior when the external noise is reduced and the interior is genuinely open to what is genuinely its own rather than what the noise has been suggesting it should be. I also want to speak about the specific connection between the quiet and the courage that the calling requires. Many people who have some sense of what they are called to have not yet moved toward it. And the reason they have not moved toward it is not that the calling is unclear, but that the courage to follow it is insufficient. And the insufficiency of the courage is partly the result of not spending enough time in the quiet where the courage is formed. The person who is regularly in the quiet with me tends to develop a specific and genuine courage in relation to their calling. And I want to speak about the specific thing I have been trying to say about your purpose in this season. I have been saying, the thing you keep returning to in your quieter moments, the thing that rises to the surface when the noise reduces and the interior has a chance to reflect what is genuinely there, the thing that gives you the specific quality of aliveness that other things do not give, the thing you keep noticing and keep being drawn to and keep setting aside because the noise keeps telling you it is not practical or not important or not the right time. That thing is part of what I put in you. Type, "The voice of the Lord is my portion," in the comments. Let that be your declaration, that what you most need to hear in this season is not more of what the noise is providing, but the specific and personal voice of the one who made you and who knows what you were made for. And if this message has guided you, strengthened you, and helped you see your path clearly, then like, subscribe, and share this message, and support this ministry through the link given below so others can receive this message at the right time. I want to speak about prayer in the quiet, because prayer is one of the dimensions of the coming away that most significantly changes when the interior is genuinely still. The prayer that happens in the genuine quiet is qualitatively different from the prayer that happens in the noisy interior in ways that are worth describing specifically. The prayer of the genuinely quiet interior begins differently. It begins from a stillness rather than from a reaching, from a receptivity rather than from a presenting of the list of what is needed, from the genuine orientation of the full interior toward me rather than the functional turning of the attention toward me while the rest of the interior continues its other operations. The first specific difference is that the quiet prayer tends to be more honest. The noisy interior tends to filter what it brings to me, to present the managed version of the interior state rather than the genuine one. The quiet removes some of that filtering. In the genuine stillness, the interior tends to bring what is actually there rather than what is acceptable to present. The second specific difference is that the quiet prayer tends to be more patient. The noisy interior tends to bring its requests and then move on, to present what is needed and then return to the other operations that the noisy life requires. The quiet interior can remain. It has the specific quality of interior availability that the noisy interior lacks, the capacity to stay in the encounter, past the presenting and into the receiving. The third specific difference is that the quiet prayer tends to include more genuine listening. The prayer of the noisy interior tends to be primarily the presenting of what is needed and what is feared and what is hoped for, with very little of the genuine and attentive listening that two-directional communication requires. The quiet prayer can include the genuine listening. The fourth specific difference is that the quiet prayer tends to be more worshipful. The noisy interior tends to bring its needs and concerns and to present them with the urgency that the noise has produced. The quiet interior, freed from the urgency that the noise generates, tends to have more access to genuine wonder and genuine adoration. Type, "I turn down the world to turn up heaven" in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific and deliberate choosing that the coming away requires, the reducing of the world's volume so that heaven's volume becomes perceptible in the interior. I want to speak about the Word of God in the quiet, because the scripture engagement that happens in the genuine interior stillness is qualitatively different from the scripture engagement that happens in the noisy interior. The word received in the noise tends to be the word processed informationally. The content is taken in, the meaning is understood at the cognitive level, the theological principle is identified and mentally filed, and the reading moves on. This is genuine engagement with the scripture, and it is not without value, but it tends to be engagement with the surface of the word rather than with the full depth of what the word is capable of doing in the interior that is genuinely open to receiving it. The word received in the quiet is a different experience. The interior that is genuinely still tends to receive the word at a depth that the noisy interior cannot access. The specific phrase that is read slowly enough to actually be heard, that is allowed to sit in the interior for a moment before the reading moves on, tends to go deeper. It reaches for the specific place in the interior that it was aimed at. I want to speak about the specific practice of the meditative reading that the quiet makes possible. The slow and attentive and genuinely receptive engagement with a small portion of Scripture that is qualitatively different from the reading of a larger portion for the purpose of covering the material. This kind of reading, the slow chewing of the small portion rather than the rapid consumption of the large one, is the reading that tends to produce the most significant and the most lasting interior formation. And it is almost exclusively available in the quiet. Type, "I hear the shepherd and I follow his voice," in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific and attentive engagement with the word of the shepherd that the quiet makes possible. The choosing to slow down enough to actually hear what the word is saying. I want to speak about the obstacles to the coming away, because the invitation to come away from the noise and create the genuine interior quiet is one that many people genuinely want to accept and genuinely struggle to act on. The first obstacle is the belief that the coming away is a luxury that the schedule cannot accommodate. I want to address this belief directly. The coming away is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Not in the sense of a religious obligation to be maintained out of duty, but in the same sense that sleep is a necessity, that food is a necessity, that the soul requires the quiet as genuinely as the body requires the sleep. The second obstacle is the guilt that arrives when the coming away is attempted. The person who sits down to create the genuine interior quiet immediately encounters the awareness of everything that is not getting done in the sitting. I want to say here again, the guilt is the noise's last resort. That accusation is not from me. My invitation to the coming away carries with it my full and explicit permission for the coming. The third obstacle is the restlessness of the interior that has been shaped by the noise. The person who has been in the noise for an extended period finds that when the noise is reduced, the interior does not simply become quiet. It tends to generate its own noise. The interior that has been calibrated to the noise does not immediately recalibrate to the quiet. It requires practice. The fourth obstacle is the expectation that the coming away will produce an immediate and dramatic encounter. When the immediate and dramatic encounter does not arrive, the conclusion is often drawn that the coming away did not work. I want to address that conclusion directly. The quiet works. My presence in the quiet is real. The encounter is happening even when it does not feel like what the expectation anticipated. And the fifth obstacle is simply the habit of the noise. The interior that has been in the noise for a long time has doped the reaching for the noise into its automatic responses, and the breaking of the automatic reach requires the specific and repeated and sometimes effortful choosing of the alternative. Type, "I withdraw with Jesus to hear the Father," in the comments. Let that be your declaration that you are choosing to follow the specific and intentional practice of withdrawal that my son demonstrated, even in the face of the specific obstacles that the noisy interior presents. I want to give you a vision of what the life looks like that is consistently and genuinely coming away from the noise. The person who is consistently coming away from the noise tends to move through their days with a specific quality of unhurriedness, not the unhurriedness of the person who has no demands or no responsibilities. The unhurriedness of the person who is genuinely present in each moment rather than always slightly ahead of it. The person who is consistently coming away from the noise tends to speak from a different interior than the person who never leaves the noise. Words that carry a specific quality of weight and of consideration and of genuine origin in something deeper than the reactive surface of the interior. The quality of something that was said from a deep place. The person who is consistently coming away from the noise tends to make decisions differently, not from the urgency that the noise generates, not from the pressure of the most recent and the loudest, but from the specific and settled sense of direction that the consistent quiet has been building. The person who is consistently coming away from the noise tends to love differently, not with more intensity necessarily, but with more genuine availability, more actual presence in the love, more of the real interior brought to the loving rather than the managed presentation of the interior that the noisy engagement tends to produce. And the person who is consistently coming away from the noise tends to face the difficult things differently, with a specific quality of groundedness in what is genuinely true that the noise does not produce and the quiet consistently does. The soul that is regularly coming away is the soul that is most consistently prepared for what the staying requires. Type: I receive the secret things God speaks in the still, in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific and intimate quality of what the coming away provides, the receiving of the things I speak in the quiet that are not available in the noise. I want to take you into a specific scene, a specific moment in the Gospels that is one of the most directly relevant pictures of what I am inviting you into in this message. I want to take you into the home of Martha and Mary, into the specific moment when my son was visiting, and Martha was busy with the many things that the hosting required, and Mary was sitting at his feet and listening. Martha was not doing anything wrong. This is important to hold clearly, because the most common misreading of that story is the interpretation that makes Martha's service a failure of character or a demonstration of spiritual deficiency. Martha was doing the genuinely necessary things that genuine hospitality requires. She was serving my son. What I address in her is the specific anxiety and the specific distraction of the one who is so occupied with the serving that she has lost access to the presence she is serving. And what my son said to her, "One thing is necessary," is not a dismissal of the many things that the life genuinely requires. It is the specific and personal identification of the one thing that the many things were crowding out, the specific thing that Mary had chosen and that I declared would not be taken from her. The one thing is the coming away, the sitting at my feet, the choosing of the receiving over the producing, the attending to the presence over the attending to the provision. I want to speak about the specific quality of Mary's posture in that scene. She was sitting. The specific and settled posture of a person who has made a genuine choice and who is genuinely resting in that choice, who is fully present in the current moment rather than divided between it and everything else that is available to attend to. And she was listening. The specific and attentive interior posture of the person who is genuinely open to receiving what is being given, who has given the full interior over to the hearing of what is being spoken. I declared over Mary's choosing that it would not be taken from her. I want to say the same declaration over your choosing of the coming away. What you receive in the genuine quiet with me is not a temporary experience that evaporates when you return to the engagement. It is genuinely yours, genuinely held, genuinely carried forward into the noisy seasons from the quiet ones. Type, I choose the better part, like Mary did in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific and countercultural choosing that the coming away requires, the choosing of the one necessary thing over the many available things. And if this message has guided you, strengthened you, and helped you see your path clearly, then like, subscribe, and share this message, and support this ministry through the link given below so others can receive this message at the right time. I want to speak now as directly as I know how to speak, because throughout this message I have been describing the quiet and what it produces and what it makes possible. And now I want to use the quiet that this message itself has been creating in the interior of the person who is receiving it to speak the specific things that I have been trying to say. The message has been the extended invitation to the coming away, and the receiving of the message is itself a form of the coming away. The first thing I want to say is this: you have been heard. Not in the general sense that I hear all prayers and all cryings out and all reaching toward me. In the specific and personal sense that what you have been carrying in the interior, the specific weight and the specific confusion, and the specific grief, and the specific longing, and the specific questions that you have been bringing to me. I have received every bit of it. Nothing has been lost in the noise. You have been heard. The second thing I want to say is this: the thing you keep wondering about, the specific question that rises to the surface in the quieter moments, the uncertainty about whether I am still working, whether the situation you have been praying about has my attention, whether the things that have not yet changed are outside my awareness or beyond my engagement. The answer is yes. I am working. The situation has my attention. The things that have not yet changed are not outside my awareness. I am working. Trust what you cannot yet see. The third thing I want to say is this: you are more loved than the noise has been allowing you to feel. In this moment of this quiet, in the attention that the receiving of this message has created, let it go deeper. The love I have for you is not the generic love of the Creator for the creation. It is the specific and personal and fully knowing love of the Father for the child. That love is for you, specifically, right now. Let it be received at a depth it has not yet been fully received at. The fourth thing I want to say is this: the quiet is safe. I know this is the thing that the anxiety has been contesting. The quiet is safe because I am in it. The things that surface in the genuine quiet surface into my presence, into the specific and caring and entirely capable attention of the one who has been waiting for the quiet that would allow them to finally surface so that they could finally be genuinely addressed. Come into the quiet. It is safe. I am there. The fifth thing I want to say is this: the coming away that this message is inviting you into will give you something you have been missing without fully knowing you are missing it. The specific and quiet and genuine experience of being with me, of the interior, genuinely encountering the presence that has always been present, but that the noise has been muffling. That experience is waiting in the quiet, and it is worth more than whatever the noise was providing in its place. Type, "I dwell in the secret place of the Most High," in the comments. Let that be your declaration of the specific and intimate dwelling that the consistent coming away produces, the choosing to make the secret place, the quiet, interior encounter with me, the primary residence of the soul. I want to speak directly now into the specific things that have been keeping you in the noise when the invitation to come away has been present, addressing each of the specific lies and the specific resistances with what is actually true. To the belief that you do not have enough time to come away, I say the time that is given to the genuine interior quiet with me tends to multiply rather than reduce what the rest of the time produces. The time given to the coming away is not time taken from what matters. It is time invested in the interior, from which everything else flows. To the belief that you are not the kind of person for whom the quiet produces genuine encounter, I say, I do not have a type of person for whom the quiet is productive and another type for whom it is not. If you come genuinely, I meet you genuinely. To the belief that the noise has been doing something genuinely necessary that the quiet will fail to provide, I say the noise has been providing relief from the specific discomfort that the quiet surfaces, and the relief is real, but the address is not. The quiet addresses what the noise was only relieving, and the address is genuinely more valuable than the relief. To the belief that God does not have anything specific to say to you personally, I say this message itself is the evidence against that belief. I have been saying specific things throughout this message, things that are aimed at the specific interior of the specific person who is receiving them. To the belief that the attempts at coming away that have been made before and that felt unfruitful mean the coming away is not for you, I say. The unfruitfulness of the earlier attempts was almost certainly the unfruitfulness of the beginning of a practice that requires repetition and patience. Come back, try again. To the belief that the people who need you cannot afford the time you would spend coming away, I say the people who need you most need the version of you that the coming away produces. The coming away is the provision of the version of yourself that the people who need you most genuinely need. To the whole of you, the person who has been in the noise and who has been hearing the invitation to come away and who has been resisting it for all the specific reasons that the noise has been providing, I say the invitation is still open. The quiet is still available. What I have to tell you is still waiting. Come away. I have something quiet to tell you, and it is worth hearing. Type. His voice is worth every sacrifice of silence in the comments. Let that be your declaration that you are choosing the coming away over the staying in the noise, that what I speak in the quiet is worth the specific and daily and sometimes costly choosing of the interior conditions that make the receiving of it possible. I want to bring you into a moment of genuine quiet right now, not as a future intention when conditions are more suitable, but in this specific moment as you receive these words. Put aside for a moment everything that is waiting on the other side of this reading. The tasks and the messages and the next thing on the schedule and the worries and the plans. Not permanently. For a moment. Let your body participate in the coming away. Let the shoulders drop fractionally from where they have been held. Let the hands open slightly rather than gripping. Let the breath slow and deepen. The breath that goes all the way down rather than staying in the chest. The exhale that is as complete as the inhale. And now let the interior go as quiet as it is able to go in this specific moment. Not the achieved silence of the accomplished contemplative, the honest quiet of the person who is genuinely trying to reduce the interior noise long enough to hear what I am saying. The thoughts will still be present. The agenda will still be visible at the edges of the awareness. That is fine. You are only required to be genuinely turning toward me in the specific and honest and imperfect way that this specific moment permits. That turning is the coming away. It is enough. Now receive. In the quiet that this moment is providing, simply open the interior to what I am giving, not reaching for a dramatic experience or a specific kind of felt encounter. Simply opening. A warmth, a sense of being known, a specific thought that arrives with the quality of being given rather than generated. A word or a phrase from what has been read that settles in the interior with a specific and personal weight. Whatever arrives in the genuine quiet, however quiet and however subtle, receive it as real. It is real. And it is for you. And hear this. The specific thing I am saying in this specific quiet of this specific moment, I have been waiting for this. Not impatiently, with the patience of the one who knows the value of what is being waited for. And now that you are here, I am here. And the quiet you are in right now is not empty. It is full of my presence. And my presence is full of what the noise has been preventing you from receiving. Type, I come away. Now, Lord, speak to me in the comments. Let that be your declaration of this specific and genuine moment of coming away, the opening of the interior to what has been waiting in the quiet. I want to pray over you now, to speak a declaration that covers everything we have addressed together in this time. Receive this, not as words spoken in your general direction, but as words spoken directly over you, in your specific situation, with full knowledge of what the noise has been doing in your specific interior, and full intention toward the quiet that the coming away is providing. I speak over the noise that has been filling your interior, and I declare its authority reduced, not by the force of spiritual demand, but by the specific and personal invitation that I have been extending throughout this message. I declare the noise's claim on the primary attention of your interior contested, the grip of the constant input on the soul that was designed for the genuine quiet, genuinely loosened, the space that the noise has been occupying beginning to open to what I have been waiting to fill it with. I speak over the specific forms of the noise, the screen and the opinion and the pace and the worry and the obligation, and I declare each of them addressed. The screen that has been filling the available quiet, I speak peace over the relationship with it, a specific and wise boundary that creates the space the soul requires. The opinion noise that has been keeping the interior saturated, I speak the clarity that comes from my voice being the primary orienting word in the interior. The pace noise, I speak the specific and permission-granting instruction to slow, to allow the life to move at the speed of genuine presence. The worry noise, I speak the specific and personal releasing of what the worry has been trying to manage into the hands that were always most capable of holding it. The obligation noise, I speak the specific and explicit permission of the one who is asking for the coming away. I speak over the interior that has been in the noise and declare it genuinely capable of the quiet. The interior is not broken. It is calibrated to the noise, and the calibration can change. It is changing right now, in this moment of this message, as the genuine attention given to what I am speaking creates the specific interior conditions that the coming away requires. I speak over the relationship between you and me that the consistent coming away will build, and I declare it genuinely deepening. I declare the specific and personal and intimate quality of the relationship that grows when the interior is consistently given the quiet in which I can speak and be received, genuinely becoming the dominant quality of the relationship. I speak over the calling and the purpose that the coming away will clarify, and I declare them genuinely available to the interior that is consistently given the quiet in which the clarification can happen. The calling is clear. It will become clearer. And over the whole of this, over your interior and your practice and your relationship with me and your calling and your daily life in its full complexity, I speak the specific and personal invitation one final time. Come away. I have something quiet to tell you. It is important, and it is personal, and it is specifically for you in this specific season of your specific life. And it is waiting in the quiet that the coming away provides. Type, Lord, let your voice be louder than the noise, in the comments. Let that be your declaration that you are receiving this prayer and this declaration over your interior and your practice, that you are choosing the coming away as the consistent and daily and genuinely practiced rhythm of the life you are building. We have come to the end of this time together, and I want to close not with a summary of what has been said, but with the sending of you forward into the actual practice of what this message has been inviting you into. Because the message has been the extended invitation, and now the invitation needs to become the daily and consistent and genuinely practiced choosing, the actual coming away from the actual noise in the actual hours of the actual days of your actual life. You came to these words in the noise. Whatever the specific form of the noise that has been filling the interior in the season before this message arrived, you were in it. And through the receiving of these words, something has reduced in the interior. Some portion of the noise has thinned. Some quality of the quiet that the noise has been preventing has become fractionally more present in the interior that has been attending to what I have been saying. That fractional quieting is real. Honor it. Do not dismiss it because it is small. Small beginnings that are faithfully tended become significant things. The one thing I want you to carry from this time is the specific and personal awareness that I have something quiet to tell you, not something general, not something that applies to everyone equally, something specific and personal and aimed at the particular interior of the particular person you are, something that knows your specific history and your specific wounds and your specific longings, and your specific calling, and your specific season. That word is waiting. It is still waiting in the quiet that the coming away will provide, ready to land with the full weight and the full specificity and the full personal relevance that I have always intended it to carry. Go forward from here with the protected morning. The specific and deliberate choosing of the 10 minutes before the phone, before the news, before the demands, begin their claiming of the interior attention. 10 minutes of genuine quiet in which the first encounter of the day is with my presence rather than with the noise. Go forward with the phone boundary. The specific and protected and genuinely enforced provision of times and spaces in which the phone is away and the interior is genuinely available for the quiet that the coming away requires. Go forward with the genuine expectation of hearing something real, not the dramatic and unmistakable voice. The specific and quiet and genuine communication of the one who speaks in the still small voice. Expect to hear something. Come with the receptive interior rather than the performing one. Listen as genuinely as the practice currently permits, and notice what arrives, and go forward, knowing that the coming away is not something you must achieve alone. It is something I am inviting you into with the specific and personal engagement of the one who is already in the quiet, already present in the space that the coming away creates, already prepared with what the specific interior of the specific person who is coming needs to receive. You are not coming into an empty silence. You are coming into my presence. And my presence in the quiet is not passive or neutral or vaguely available. It is specifically directed toward you, specifically prepared for this season of your specific life, specifically carrying the word that the noise has been preventing from reaching you, with its full weight and its full specificity and its full personal relevance. Come away. I am there. I have always been there. And what I have to tell you in the quiet is worth every moment of the coming away that the consistent practice requires. Type, I come away with you, and I will never be the same, in the comments as your final declaration. Let that be the statement of the commitment you are carrying out of this encounter and into the actual practice of the actual days. The declaration of the person who has heard the invitation and who is choosing to accept it, who is choosing the quiet and the coming away and the one necessary thing, who is choosing to come away from the noise, because the one who is waiting in the quiet has something to say that is worth more than everything the noise has been providing. And if this message has guided you, strengthened you, and helped you see your path clearly, then like, subscribe, and share this message, and support this ministry through the link given below so others can receive this message at the right time.